Hello and welcome to another episode of the Embodied Union podcast. And I'm Lindsay.
I'm Charlie.
And today?
Today's interesting. I want us to unpack the month that we've had.
Oh no.
And give a bit of context into what's been going on for us and how we've been navigating it. It really highlights our humanness.
Oh yeah.
But also the skills that we have. There's both.
Yeah.
There's both. We've been really human and we've been skillful some of the time.
For some of you guys that have missed us in the last month, we have not made a podcast. We've been deep. And,
in a hole.
Yeah. And, we could start by just sharing the circumstances of Charlotte was away for a week, came back very sick.
I was so sick.
And then I had my vasectomy reversal surgery. And obviously I was bedridden and not fun to be around. So that basically gives context to the last month.
Yeah, so there's been some external stuff happening. I think that is the first thing to name, because often for couples, when things are kind of wobbling, it can be really easy to feel like it's the relationship or it's my partner or this is a disaster, this isn't working. But we have enough capacity to zoom out and be like, what else is going on? What is contributing to this? And there have been some pretty big things happening.
I think that too is just naming the external factors. Often when we work with couples, there's kind of that bickering, the backwards and forwardsing like you're saying, and they're really not seeing just how stressed or how overwhelmed they are, and looking at the person in front of them like they're the source of it all, and they're the problem or whatever it might be. That is so often the thought process, the human thought process.
And one of my toxic traits is definitely catastrophizing. So when we have stuff going down, my mindset can kind of go down this train of thought that this is what it's going to be like now. This is it. This is the truth. This is what he's really like. This is what we're really like together. It's just going to get worse. And one of my favorite things about Lindsay is that you do not do that. And I'm curious if it's because you have been in a 20-year marriage that you have really kind of ridden the rapids of relationship. You see how things happen and they pass. And this is 3 years together now. That's our anniversary, by the way. And it's
Really?
my longest
No.
relationship. And so you have a lot of evidence that conflict happens and you repair and it's not the end.
Well, and I think, yes, thanks for acknowledging that. I think what it actually is in a way is life happens. So often life is happening for both of us in our own way. And yes, we're in a relationship and there is seasons in relationship, there is, the monthly cycle of yours and the daily cycle of mine. There's also the cycles in life, and us having those moments. For me, I just really get that this is all part of it. I've signed up. I'm I'm all in. So knowing that we're going to have these moments, it's something that brings us closer together, because to me, I have the faith and the trust that every time there's a down, it's bringing us some new level of up that we're going to get to experience together. And it only strengthens it.
It's honestly, for someone like myself, healing attachment wounding, it's very healing to be with someone like this, who's just babe, we're good. I'm in there, it's done. How am I going to leave? It's over. He hates me. And he's just just going through your own stuff, but not at all questioning the relationship, and just having that constantly reflected back to me babe, this is part of it. It's good. There's something about that has allowed my nervous system to settle even inside of conflict. It's just wait a minute. I don't need to catastrophize because I have so much evidence. It's you're not over there.
Yeah.
Looking for the exit.
Well, and I think what happened this month is I think Charlotte wobbled so hard that I started to wobble, and
I'm so happy to give the context, because I did. I was wobbling. And I think there's gold in this for you listening, because how often are we impacted by what we're consuming? And I really felt like I had a good relationship with social media. Like I use it to post content and then I get out of there. But I had about 50 accounts that I was following on Instagram that I really respect. I love their work. I'm really I admire them. I'm inspired. But there's been this narrative going around like the masculine and the kind of what the masculine can hold, and more traditional relationships. And I'm seeing a lot of couples, and I suppose more men, speak into this is what the masculine should be doing. And it's really, I'm speaking into like the provision that the masculine can provide for his woman, for his family, for his children. And because we've made this decision to have a baby, it's like my brain put me 10,000 steps ahead and I think this is normal because like even though I'm not pregnant, my womb is ready. So biologically something has happened in my system, and I'm kind of scanning around looking for the evidence that it's safe to have a baby. And at the same time, I'm consuming this content that's saying like masculine provision, he should be providing, like you don't need to work, like you just get to be in your feminine and be relaxed and da da da. And so I put these kind of things together and I start looking at Lindsay and I'm projecting this onto him, like, well, where's your full provision for like me and the baby that is not even inside of me? And it really took me out of gratitude for where we are, and where we are is amazing, and just put me in a bit of scarcity and fear. And I was stuck in it for about a month, just seeing all the evidence of how like it's not the time for a baby, but like we've just fucking done a vasectomy reversal. It's like, this is not the time, Charlie. And yeah, for about a month, just I'm suffering because there's this neediness and this attachment and this gripping to this reality that we're not living yet. And I'm suffering because of that, which means Lindsay's suffering, which means our relationship is suffering. And it probably like went on for a month. And that's a long time in my world to be suffering in something because I have enough tools and awareness. But anyway, it was a month. And then I did a cull. I like culled my social media following down to like 17 accounts now, because I realized this content wasn't inspiring me. It was putting me into comparison. And I just I also zoomed out and looked at my own like external factors, like what's happening to me. What else am I not, like how else can I support myself right now? My yoga practice had dropped. Some of my self-care had dropped. And I just really came back to me and my body and the reality of what we have right now, which is amazing, and the gratitude of it, and in trust of like what we're going and what we want to create together. But there was a month that I wobbled. And so that was like my experience of it. How was that month for you?
Yeah, well, I think, my my toxic trait is I can't get this right, or I believe that I can't. So it kind of brought up that. It brought up the I'm failing, I'm not getting it right. It's like I really love my business and I really love our business, and I don't want to change it. And I feel like it's growing and developing and blooming, and it's kind of, I had the feeling was when you started to wobble, it's like we've planted all these trees and we're waiting for them to bear fruit, and they're not fruiting this season just yet, or they're going too soon. And it's like, shit, do we have to rip it all out and, go and get ourselves jobs and do all this stuff that we're just not going to do? And it would actually be less, like it wouldn't be as good as what we've got now. Like not even close, like you secretly went off and applied for a job and got it.
Oh my God, I went into such scarcity and went on to Seek, and I did, and I didn't even tell Lindsay. Got the job and was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving up my morning routine to work for somebody else.
Yeah, secretly mad at me for making you go and get a job that I never asked you to get.
She never asked me to get a job.
So just noticing that for myself and what it brought up, and the piece around like the traditional roles, and where am I at right now, and just like I said, the analogy around the bearing the fruit already is just like, it feels so true. It's like in life, so often, right where we're at the precipice of something working or happening or growing, comes the biggest wobbles. It's often the case. And as much as I think it's cliche to say it, it's that quote of, fear is a mile wide but an inch deep. It's like often what we're afraid of or what we're fearful of is way bigger than we make it out to be. So having those moments with you around that, having us both be sick, having us both be in, like for me, being in recovery and not feeling 100%, it's kind of like I'm sitting idle while my partner's having the biggest wobble she's ever had. And it's just, it brought up some stuff. And as I know, the conflict creates clarity, or the conflict creates closer union. And so I just see it as a beautiful opportunity just to ride it and harvest the gold from it, and I feel like we've come out the other side sort of stronger and more in connection and more in communication as well, like really just being able to communicate it. And I've been super sensitive. I just know that the last couple of weeks, I just feel like in so many of our interactions, like instead of having like a monthly wobble, we've been having daily wobbles.
And that does not happen here.
Not for us.
But like daily is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Everything feels like it has a sharp edge to it.
Yes. And I think in the past, if I didn't have the skills that I have now, I would start to combine them together. I would stack them together like Lego, and build some big story up. And I'm just not committed to doing that at all. I just don't want to do that. My meaning making, my story, all that can go right in the bin. I don't care about it. It's like, you love me, you're really sweet. One of my toxic traits is I can be hard to love. So I can create like a bit of barrier towards you and towards the situation, but I just feel like I'm constantly letting it go and you're constantly leaning in and reassuring. And I know for me, when my part in it is when I'm in overwhelm, I just completely shut down.
It collapses.
Yes.
And that's really
terrifying
for somebody who is a bit more anxious.
Yeah. Or, in this case, in a Hakomi model, I think of it more industrious, and I watch you get into a bit of scarcity or panic or fear and go into hyperdrive, whereas I go
in faster. You go
slower
down.
So it's like, for me to really thrive in my life, I really need to go at the pace that my being feels the most comfortable, because that feels the most true. And me speeding up doesn't do any good for it. I've tried, I've figured it out, I've burnt myself out, I've done all the things, and I just really get that I'm a bit like a diesel engine. I'm just a bit of a plotter. So I'm okay with that, And if we're the rabbit and the hare, I'm definitely...
No, rabbit and the tortoise.
Rabbit and the tortoise.
You're the turtle.
Yeah.
You're such a turtle.
I'm such a turtle.
And some of my learning in this relationship is getting to know this about Lindsay, like in the beginning, it was so easy for me to take your collapse or shut down or withdraw, like so personally, and be so terrified of that. But now I have so much evidence that, you might actually need to withdraw from me and take space, but you come back really fast, and you come back so willing to be like, I'm sorry, this is my part. And I have so much evidence that you can do this. And I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend. It's like, it's not about the moments of rupture. It's the fact that we can repair. And it's the number one skill that we teach couples. Like, they come to us wanting to have more sex, but what they actually need to do is learn how to repair. And then more intimacy and sex is like the byproduct. But that is what we are skillful at, which is the repair.
Yeah, constantly in correct, effective repair, effective communication, and actually effective repair, not just putting a blanket over it or saying sorry and not having any future agreements around it. Like, of course I'm sorry, but sorry's not enough. Sorry is never enough. It's more like, what part was I to play in this? How was I responsible for this wobble? what am I going to do about it? What
Yeah.
what am I promising for the future? And it just makes it so easy to do. Because then it's like I know what to actually do.
I think that's such an important thing that you just said, you know, like sorry is sorry, but it's not enough. It doesn't validate what happened. It doesn't offer the next step. It's like you have to be able to self-reflect so that when you say sorry, it's like, I'm sorry for this, and this is what I see, and this is what I intend. You really like need that next level of, I'm sorry, and here's my responsibility. And it's both of us bringing that.
Yeah.
I'd love to add something. Again, this is based like on the conversation I had yesterday with a friend, and she said something that was so powerful for me and it has stuck with me, so I feel like it's a little bit of gold. And she heard this from one of her teachers, who said, I can't remember it verbatim, but it's like, can you just give him a pass, or can you just give her a pass, or just give them a pass? And so imagine that like Lindsay's been in surgery, Lindsay has been housebound, Lindsay has been idle on the couch. That is not good for Lindsay. Like, I could be on the couch reading and watching movies, but like for this man, adventure, man, social, extrovert, all the things.
Jiu-jitsu
training, he needs to be outside. And so Lindsay being housebound, cooped up, wasn't the best for him. And yeah, his sensitivity was up and defense was up, and there were parts like really on the surface. And so sometimes our partner is just being a human, and can we just give them a pass? As in, can I just actually not buy in? Can I not take it personally? Can I not make it mean something about me? Can I not go down my line of thought, which is, oh, it's always going to be like this now. This is just the beginning of the end. Can we actually just give them a pass? And of course, I'm not speaking to the relationship where your partner is constantly showing up in this way that is just like not in alignment. I'm not going to take it on. It's like you have to have the capacity to zoom out, see the bigger picture, see the human in their totality. And it's like, Lindsay is not a man that is always like defensive and sensitive. It's like in therapy, we get a lot of couples that come in, and when their partner is behaving in a way that they're not appreciating, there's this thing called splitting, where you just suddenly start seeing all the negative. You hyper focus on what's negative, and you suddenly lose the capacity to see them in their bigger picture. And so it's so much easier to like, can I give this human a pass if I can really zoom out and see the whole man, not the man who's having a human moment and making that mean a whole bunch of things. And
is that like a pass for the parts?
give him a pass, like let him have a pass. And one thing women will say to me is, why should I? Like, why should I? I'm always having to be the one to do this. Like, he never does that for me, or why should I be the one? And if you're in that, you're also getting lost, because you're giving him a pass for him, yes, but it's actually more for you to be the woman that you say you want to be. It's your gift to the relationship. It's how you're in service to the relationship that you say you care so much about, by just choosing to not wobble when he wobbles. And so those words are really stuck in my brain. It's like, can you just give him a pass? Give him a pass for no reason other than, it's not because you owe me one or I owe you one and I just like, oh, I just should. It's like, why not? You're human. I'm human. We're going to have these moments. Can I just choose to not buy in and allow you to be who you are in this moment? Again, it would be different if you were abusing me or being like verbally violent or whatever. It's not what I'm talking to. It's just compassion for the human moments.
So what else? What else has been going on for us?
Well, I want to speak into like how I came back to myself this month, because I have a training that I would like to speak into. But is there anything else context-wise that has been going on for us this month that we wanted to dive into?
No, I think it just made us really reassess just a whole bunch of things around, like the provision around like how we're doing business, how we're tracking, how we're doing all of that. Like, you went on this tax rampage and incomes.
I like
and
spreadsheets.
yeah, and like did all of that when I had my son with us for the weekend. And it's just, again, it just feels like we've really used this, wobble as an opportunity to like recalibrate.
Yes.
Like sometimes that's what needs to happen. Conflict is a bit like a wildfire sometimes through the relationship, and it's just, all right, let's do a whole bunch of new agreements. Let's set up stuff. Like, we ended up doing shibari again, and like doing the things that are actually like play and fun. Like, for me, that's something that I really enjoy in relationship, is having connection and creating not just intimacy, but actually like quality time together. And I know you're the same. Charlotte loves words. If I could just like fire words at her all day, she'd be in heaven.
I feel like part of my turn on is access through intellectual stimulation. So that's why it's like in the beginning of our relationship, we were so engaged conversationally, as you are when you get to know someone. And so you are requesting, hey, like play has dropped away. Can we do some shibari? And I'm like, I miss talking to you in the way that's like with depth and not just coexisting. So it's so true. Like, it really allowed us to see the gaps and just be like, we know how to bring that stuff forward.
Yeah.
That's what brought us together.
Exactly. Easy peasy. So yeah, I think that's basically it for me.
So I think the moral of the story for me is, yes, I had probably the biggest wobble that I've had in our relationship. Yes, to me, it kind of makes sense. Like, my body's preparing for a baby. I want to make sure it's safe, and like I can have compassion for myself for going there. But nothing's actually changed. Yes, we've got clear and we have some new agreements. But the thing that shifted it for me is that I just came home to myself. I realized that sitting in like criticism of where we're at, or judging where we're at, or projecting my fear onto Lindsay with where we're at, that does not actually get me what I want. It does not make me a match for what I want. And in relationship, when we're not getting what we think we want, often we criticize, and all that does is push your man further away from you and take you further away from the thing that you want. And the way to get what you want is to become the woman who is a match for that. And so if I'm wanting to be in this relationship where Lindsay's thriving and is masculine and is able to lean in and provide, it's like I can't be sitting in like this scarcity heady place. It's like I get to be the woman who is leaning back, who is in trust, who is open and receptive and in her body. And so me just focusing on all the things that allow me to access that have completely shifted it for me. And it's like a completely different experience of our relationship. It feels like it's shifted, it's gone back to that like love bubble, but nothing physically or financially has changed. I have just remembered who I am. And so a lot of people out there talk about manifestation and manifesting your dream partner and your relationship, and I want him to be like this and this and this. And they're focusing externally on what they want so they can feel okay now. But this masterclass that I'm doing on Friday, which is for free, is around how do you actually turn all of your focus back around onto you and become the woman that is a match for the things that you say you want through your own like deep self-inquiry and the steps that you're taking every day. And it's so, you become powerful when you bring that attention back on you, because you cannot control the external. I can't shake Lindsay and say, you must be this way for me. It's like, I can just be the woman who's a match for it. And over time, the thing is, women will say to me, but if I just work on me and I do all this on me, and what if he doesn't? What if it doesn't get me what I want? What if it doesn't work? That is not a reason to not do it, because you're doing it for you. And over time, if you go all in, if you fully commit, say 6 months down the track, you've really gone all in and nothing has changed, like nothing, your man has not like met you, then it's the question is the relationship out of alignment?
Totally.
And that's a contemplation that you get to have with yourself. But the best way to move the needle to get you towards what you want is to bring your energy home. And so for me, I'm like doing yoga twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day right now. And that's excessive, but it's just, I'm really enjoying it. and I'm remembering, it's like, I create safety inside of me. I look after me, and the relationship feels better. Lindsay has more space to keep doing the awesome things that he's doing, where it just feels so much lighter. So I do have a masterclass coming up on Friday. It is called The One, because it is about becoming the one. It is for free, but you can only access it inside of my Facebook community group, which is called the Embodied Woman Community. And it is a completely free group. This masterclass is launching the group. It's going to be a space that is full of resources and guided practices, and just a really great place to come and do your inner work and relational work. There'll be Q&As with myself and Lindsay, and it's totally free. So if you're listening to this in time, and even if you're not, even if you've missed the masterclass, the group is ongoing. So give me a message on Instagram or Facebook or through the podcast. I am Charlie S. Hannah, Charlie Hannah on Facebook, Embodied Union, anywhere that any of those, and I will get you where you need to be, because it's going to be a really powerful conversation that will change the game for so many women that are sitting in the gripping and the needing and the attachment, trying to manipulate the external in some way and feeling frustrated.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, thanks again for tuning in to the Embodied Union podcast. I'm Lindsay B at Instagram, and as always at Embodied Union if you want to follow us there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, my love.
Love you, critter.